everybody, it's BC here. We are in step one, part one of Let's Sublimate. This is going to be a 5-part series. This is going to be kind of like a master tutorial on everything from what you need all the way to the end of packing it up and sending it to somebody when you finish making a sublimated t-shirt. We're going to work on a t-shirt. So in this video, I just wanted to, it's kind of more of an intro video. I just wanted to start off with step one is, what do you need to sublimate? So you're going to need a printer, guys. You got to have some sort of sublimation printer. Now you can have everything from a Sawgrass, which is an actual sublimation printer and is actually sold as a sublimation printer. It prices more closer to the $700 to $1,000 range. And then you also have the option of converting a Epson Ecotank or a workforce printer. I recommend using Ecotanks. They're extremely easy to convert. It's not almost even a conversion. I made a video here that shows you actually how to do that. I have an Epson 2720, which is I got it for a couple $100, brand new. And I got some sublimation inks, which is the second thing you need. So you need a printer. Like I said, I recommend the Ecotanks, especially if you're just doing this at home. It's a great entry-level machine, and it does everything you need it to do. So get yourself a printer, whether that be a Sawgrass, Epson, or what other sublimation printers exist out there. You need sublimation inks. Now, this is very important. You cannot use regular printer ink. It will not work whatsoever. So you need to actually get inks that state that they're sublimation inks. They're made specifically for sublimation. They're specifically made inks, guys, that are heat activated. So when heat hits them, they turn into a gas. That gas then attaches to the polyester fibers, which is on the material that you are pressing. So you definitely need inks that work. Now, there's all different types of inks out there. There's higher end ones like Cosmos inks, which is a really good one. But there's also ones that are, around $20-$30, which are like Printer's Jacks. I use Lucky Sublimation ink. I've had really good results with it, and it was, I think, $25 on Amazon. Really, really, really reasonably priced, and very easy to put into the Epson bottles, which I showed you in that video earlier. So that I pointed to earlier. Anyway, so you need your printer. You're going to need your sublimation inks. Okay. Now you also need sublimation paper. Now you can use just copy paper. I'm not lying to you. You actually could use copy paper. The reason you don't want to do that is that it doesn't hold the ink the same way as some of these sublimation printers, sublimation papers. I use A-Sub. It's a very standard, been around for a long time paper. I use the 125 GSM. It's a little bit thicker. It holds a lot of the ink, and it tends to not oversaturate where it starts to hit the rollers. That's why I like it. But you can use 120 GCM by A-Sub. There's also Craft Besties. I've heard a lot of good things about Craft Besties. I haven't tried that one. I've heard great things about Koala paper as well, but I have not tried it. So I just use A-Sub. I'll put a link down below so you know where to get it. I use 8.5 by 14, which is the maximum size for the printer that I have, which is actually more than enough for me. Guys, a lot of people want to get the biggest thing they can, which I totally think you should. If you can get a 13 by 19 like a Ecotank 15,000, definitely go for that. But the majority of the stuff that you're going to print, guys, is going to be more around the 8.5 to 14 to 11 by 17 sizes. So when you make shirts, like something like this is only about maybe a little over 10 inches across. And I'm a big guy. I'm 6'2", and over 200 pounds. So and this is more than enough width. You don't need the full 13. In fact, the 13 would start to wrap around, look kind of weird. So most of my designs actually, when I sublimate, are actually more vertical, or I turn the paper sideways if I want to do something more horizontal. And also, you can also take those pages, you can tile them in Photoshop or Illustrator and make a bigger picture. So 2 8.5 by 14s, you could tape those together to now make a much bigger print. And you can tape another one and another one. That's how you can make an all over shirt. That's how you can make just bigger prints. But the majority of the stuff that I sell Most of it's within a 10 by 10 size. It's not usually bigger than that. So the 8.5 by 14, it works fine for me for the sublimation. I think it looks kind of cool the way I usually like the vertical anyway. So anyway, so so you need your printer, you need your sublimation inks, you need your sublimation paper, and you also need blowout paper. Now, blowout paper is just regular butcher paper or newsprint paper. You don't want it wax covered. You want completely plain. I use newsprint paper. I get it at U-Haul, you know, like for packing dishes and stuff. And it's just like plain newsprint. There's nothing on it at all. It's just a plain, like kind of a grayish color. That works fantastic for me. And it's super cheap. And the sheets are really big. So I actually like that for my blowout paper. So you can use that. You can use butcher paper, which you can get at Target or Walmart or any other, you know, store. But I tend to like the actual newsprint packing paper. So anyway, get blowout paper. That's the main thing. And the reason you need blowout paper, guys, is that the sublimation ink, because it turns into that gas, it will escape a little bit. And you don't want that to get onto your plate of your heat press. If it does, God forbid, that gas, that gas will now attach itself to the press. So when you start to press other things, you're going to notice the print from the last thing you did. So you always want to protect your heat press when you are pressing sublimation. It's very, 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 very important, guys, because you don't want to have to sit there and get some acetone and clean down your press. It's a whole process. You don't want to go through that. So always use blowout paper no matter what you're making. That's mugs, shirts, tumblers. Always use an extra wrap around the actual print. So that way you're protecting whatever you're using to sublimate with. So blowout paper, that's the other one. Okay, so you usually want to put blowout paper on the bottom, the middle of a shirt, and then on top of the sublimation. That you usually put the print, and then you put another blowout paper, and then you press it down, which takes us to the last thing you need. You need a heat press, guys. So you definitely need some sort of heat press that is consistent heat. Now, easy presses, you know, those ones that are hand held, I'm sure a lot of you guys have those. They do work. You just got to make sure that it's a consistent heat all the way through. I do recommend using a regular heat press, even if they're one of the cheaper ones, just so you have that the actual contact doesn't move or shift whatsoever. Heat press, you're going to usually use, I'm going to give you a recommendation. I'm going to talk about it later in video. It'll be video 4, which will be actually when we're pressing the shirt. But you don't want to put up the heat too much on garments. A lot of people are going to tell you 400 degrees, 60 seconds. You're going to hear that a lot. I actually recommend against that. I recommend to bring down the temperature. You don't want to scorch your material. Like the shirt itself, 400 degrees is quite a bit of heat to hit it for such a long period of time. You're talking about a whole minute. It's not 15 seconds like HTV. So you need to have a lot light pressure on it. And you also got to make sure that it's not going to burn the shirt, so you don't leave scorch marks or leave markings too bad on the shirt when you're sublimating. And so I usually set it at 375 degrees and I go for 80 seconds. Now that's just like a start point. As I talked before in this video on some tips, everyone has a different system. So your system might run a little bit hotter or colder than my system. So, but in general, 375 for 80 seconds will be a good start point. You can add or subtract time. Leave it at the 375, but you can add or subtract time. So add maybe 20 seconds or subtract 20 seconds. Do some test prints. Again, this is trial and error in the beginning, guys. Once you kind of nail it, write down those settings, and that's what you just do over and over and over and over and over again. But in the beginning, yeah, you're going to have to trial and error and see what works for you in your setup. Okay, so those are the main things that you need, guys. You need the printer, you need the printer ink, you need the sublimation paper, the sublimation ink, printer ink, sublimation paper, blowout paper, and a heat press to make it all come together. So if you got those 5 things, guys, you're ready to move on to the next step. That's going to be step 2, where we're going to start designing something and then color correcting it and getting it ready to send to the printer. That's going to be in number 2, okay? And then in number 3, we're going to give you the printer settings. Number 4, we're going to actually print it out, put it on the shirt. And then number 5, we're going to show you how we actually pack it up and send it to somebody. So stay tuned. Hopefully you watch the whole series. I'm going to try to get them up as quick as possible so that way you kind of can see it all together. It might be a couple days, but I'm going to try to do my best. So anyway, stay tuned for that. That's going to be the next video coming up. If you could also, guys, hit the like and subscribe. It always helps us know that you care and that these videos are helping and are informative to you. And also leave a comment. Let me know what questions you might have. Maybe I can make a video on it and give you some more information on that. Also, we have a Facebook group called Heat Press Creators over on Facebook. I just told you that, but head on over to Facebook. There's a link down below. You can join up for free, and we're going to be doing giveaways, tutorials, and posting more things as we grow. So anyway, thanks a lot for listening, guys. So let's head on over to video 2, and we're going to start making something and designing it and getting it out the door for somebody. Okay, stay tuned.